Hi, everybody. We're going to let everybody file in here, and we'll get going at probably right around 8:03. All right, let's get after it. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We're really excited to roll out these webinars for the first time. For those of you that were on the immediately previous webinar for the 11s and 12s, this will be fairly similar with some slight nuance and difference. But we're excited to bring you this format in advance of the season. Somebody just chatted me and said that there's an echo in the background. Is that the case for other people? Okay, I got you. Thank you. I got about 127 no's. So I'm gonna keep moving forward. Thank you. I'm Matt Tiano. I'm the CEO of Twin Cities Soccer Leagues. Also joining is Don Ellard, our club development coordinator. And like I said, we're excited to bring you this format. We do have a Q&A function within Zoom. You're welcome to use that, and we'll try to get the questions. We'll try to get 2 questions in real time. You're also welcome to use the chat as well that go to Don and I. Okay. So our agenda for tonight, and our last webinar went about 45 minutes. I'm imagining this one will as well. So we'll get you out of here prior to 9 o'clock. We'll talk a little bit about who and what we are at TCSL, talk about the 9s and 10s and how that game differs from others, talk about schedules that are coming out on Friday, what the reschedule process is, talk a little bit about referees. We're going to talk about what you need to bring to games. We're going to talk about sideline behavior and management, summer events, who to contact for what, and then we'll wrap with the Q&A. Okay. So just a little bit about us, and some of you may have played in a prior TCSL league, potentially in the fall or even this past summer. But ultimately, we're here to serve you, and we're here to serve the game. We're driven by a core set of values that we try to live every day. They're transparency, competition, sportsmanship, and limelight. Transparency, we try to make every decision in an open, honest way alongside our clubs and our members. Competition is very, very important to us from the standpoint of we believe that good games, the players will enjoy them. So we work tirelessly with our clubs to ensure that players and teams are at the appropriate level of play. Sportsmanship, we're going to cover quite a bit on this call, is very, very important. We record and recognize good sportsmanship, and we deal with sportsmanship that's not so good. And then lastly, limelight. We believe that our clubs should be recognized for the good work they do, We believe that players should be recognized for their good work, referees recognized. For example, our team of the week has been a popular thing that we've done. We're going to continue to do that. And yeah, like our values are very, very important to us. But ultimately, from a soccer perspective, we believe that you shouldn't have to travel very far for a good game. So we try really, really hard to have good games close to home. I did just get a question. That's a good one. We are recording this. We will be able to provide this to you afterwards. Follow-up will probably be tomorrow or Thursday. And also don't feel like you have to write a bunch of notes and memorize the content. We're going to be summarizing what we've covered and also providing relevant links for you as well. So really quick, just with regards to the U9 and U10 game, culture, sportsmanship, and respect, while it's important at any TCSL level or age, it's most important at these young ages. We want the players to come back each and every year, and we believe that a good environment will mean that the players ultimately return, which is one of our primary goals. We ask that coaches own the environment and culture of the match. For example, we ask that there is a meet and greet with the referee. Make them feel welcome, ultimately. At that meeting, you can cover the rules with regards to this age group, which are unique and different from other ages as you get older. For example, there's a build out line present. You cannot punt at U9 or U10. All free kicks are indirect. So those are the types of things that can be covered at a really brief meeting with the referee prior to the game. Quickly, with regards to scores, they are not reported publicly, but we want them, and they help us ensure that the placements are good from year to year. So we do want them, but know that they're not reported publicly. Now we're going to talk a little bit about referees and the situation that we're in. In the case of there not being a referee, we feel like at these age groups that the game should still be played facilitated by coaches. We're hopeful that there won't be many of these, but if there are, we want the games to get played at these age groups. Scores aren't reported publicly. Teams are ready to play. We feel like there should be a match. A couple of questions that came in. Are rules posted online? Yes, they are. If you go to resources on our website and then league rules. And then somebody is asking, why isn't there punting? Very simply, the U.S. Soccer Federation came out with what they called mandates probably 5 years ago with respect to how small-sided games should operate in the U.S. And one standard that they put in place is that there isn't punting. They believe that there should be, quote, playing out of the back, which is why they ultimately, have that rule, which we simply implement locally. Really quick diagram of a field. I mentioned the build out line, which is in blue. All of the fields that you ultimately will play on should have build out lines. Many likely will not, so they can just be marked with cones. Okay. And again, the coaches should be prepared to put cones down should there not be painted build out lines. Okay. Okay. Schedules. These will be released on Friday, March 18th. So this Friday. There's a couple things to note. I'm just looking at the questions. I'm going to actually go back because there's a couple questions on the build out line. How far out is the build out line? I believe it's like 24 yards or thereabouts. Oops. Why is my thing doing what it's doing? Okay. Yeah, it's about 25 yards. Okay, from the goal line. Okay. Somebody asked, what is a build out line? Ultimately, anytime the goalkeeper is in possession of the ball, the defenders, or excuse me, the attackers who are attacking this goal have to retreat beyond that line. Okay. The idea being that the team that's now defending has the opportunity to play out of the back with their feet. And again, a standard that U.S. Soccer put into place for all small-sided games.
Matt, in the chat, we had questions about heading.
Yeah, good question. So heading is not allowed at U9 or U10. And it's also not allowed at U11. Good question. So back to schedules really quick. These will be coming out on Friday. There's a couple things to note with regards to schedules. All of TCSL administration will be handled in a tool called GotSport. You likely are familiar with this if you played in the fall, and if you haven't, know that this is the singular platform that you will use for rostering, for communicating with opponents, reporting scores, etc. We also post the schedules on our public website, but know that the GotSport account is your primary tool for managing team administration. Okay. We moved to a primary play night model for this summer. For those of you that have played in a historical TCSL league, you know that we used blackout dates historically. What we found with blackout dates is there was such volume of reschedules anyway that we felt like there was a better method for ensuring that teams could plan their summers and plan for what they might expect. Just looking at the chat here. Get to that in a second, Tom. So for example, if you are a 9U boys red team, your schedule will primarily be on Monday, but it will also use a secondary night of Wednesday as well. And we'll have to use a secondary night in the case of there being field availability issues, generally being the reason why we need to use an additional day. But you will know if you're a 9U boys red team that your schedule will be a Monday, Wednesday schedule when you see it on Friday. Okay. However, matches may be rescheduled to any night of the week, pending mutual agreement of both clubs. And obviously, there's field availability and what have you. Okay. So again, what to expect on Friday, your schedule will either be a Monday, Wednesday schedule or a Tuesday, Thursday schedule when you see it for the first time on Friday. And then you're able to reschedule matches during the reschedule window, which will kick off ultimately when you receive your schedule. Okay. And more on the reschedule window in a second. But just to give you an idea of what GotSport looks like, don't feel like you have to memorize this, but this is just a few screenshots to show you how it generally looks. This is where you will communicate with opponents. You can see an example here. The chat bubbles I've highlighted to kind of show you in general how this works. We want all communication to flow through the system so that we can provide support if we have to down the road with a particular match, for example. Just an example of what the screens look like. You'll ultimately produce out of GotSport a roster that you'll bring to each match. Okay. So the reschedule process, it'll kick off when you receive your schedule on March 18th. and it'll conclude on April 1st. So you have basically a full 2 weeks to look at your schedule, identify any conflicts, and we really want all reschedules wrapped up by the end of that deadline. After that deadline, we'll certainly accept reschedules for things like weather, but we want all reschedules complete by April 1. Okay. In general, the process will be as follows. And again, we will be following up with specifics in terms of the process, but just to give you an idea, you will communicate with your opponent in Gotsport. Okay. For example, just gonna go back to this slide here. We need to reschedule this game, blah, blah, blah. And then the other team can respond. So all of that will ultimately happen from within this platform. Okay, so you'll communicate with opponents in Gotsport. You'll secure facilities if you're the home club. You'll agree on a date and time, location. You'll submit that to us, and then we ultimately approve it and move the game on the master schedule. Okay. Okay. I want to spend a little bit of time on referees and make everybody aware of the situation our state's facing. It's not unique to Minnesota by any means in terms of there being what we perceive to be a little bit of a shortage. Ultimately, what you need to know is referee numbers are down from last year. At the same time, there's more children playing soccer, which also means that there's more games. What does this mean? It means that we need to be, I think, a little bit concerned, but also think about some solutions as far as how we might combat it. And our office is very committed to prioritizing this issue. We like to show this graphic. Some of you may have seen it on social media with regards to referees. There's two dads that are watching a game. One of them says, "Which one's your lad?" One says, "Why?" Wanted to tell him how rubbish he is. You can't say that, he's only a kid. How would you like it if I said that to your lad? We've done it all game. Who's your lad? The referee. So can't emphasize it enough, especially at these young ages where the environment of the match is so critical. For those of you that know me, this is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. That referee is somebody's kid, somebody's grandson or daughter. We just ask that there's empathy, especially as it relates to, the situation we're in, because referees are going to be working a lot of matches. In some cases, they're going to be working matches that are not quite at their comfort level, but they're asked to do games because there's simply nobody else. Okay, so we just ask that there's awareness around this issue, that you communicate it with your parent group. And I think this graphic does a really, really good job of articulating the situation. What does this mean? So there are likely to be rescheduled matches due to lack of referees. I think I mentioned it before with regards to U9 and U10 games. We're hopeful that matches can go on and that coaches can facilitate because scores aren't recorded and what have you. If the teams are ready to play, we want to get the games in if we can. Hopefully this won't be half of your games or anything, drastic, but it's something that we just want to be transparent about, that this is a real, it's a real issue. That said, here's my ask. If every team committed to having two individuals go through the referee training, this whole dynamic changes. Okay. We got quite a bit of interest on our last call and questions about what's the process, how do we do it, what's the training like, all of that. We will put concrete details in our follow-up with regards to what that process is and how to become a referee. But I'll repeat, if every team committed to having two individuals go through the referee training, the whole dynamic changes. And then we have a surplus of referees. Okay. We must treat referees with dignity and respect, or there simply won't be a match. And that, for us who operate youth soccer leagues and trying to create the best environment possible, for kids that want to play the game, it's frightening to think about. So can't emphasize it enough, especially at these young ages where we just want the kids to enjoy the game. We must treat referees and everybody with dignity and respect. So our ask, we ask that you communicate these circumstances and the general situation to your parent group, and then be part of the, of the solution, like I mentioned before. And then second, please be empathetic with the referees that are out there. We need them to come back next year, and we need them to referee a game tomorrow for a different team. So again, we just ask that you're empathetic with the referees that are out there. When we know ahead of time if if our game will not have a referee, or will it just be if no ref shows? No, just to be clear, the clubs in our league are responsible for hiring a referee assigner. And then that referee assigner ultimately sources the referees. So the clubs generally will know. It's not like, oh, I hope, I'm going to show up and I hope there's somebody there. There should be some communication ahead of time. Just looking through the Q&A real quick. What kind of pay do the referees enjoy? Good question. For a U9 or U10 game, for an hour's work, it's $25 to $35. And then it's a scale that sort of increases depending on the position that you're doing, whether you're in the middle, whether you're on the sideline as an assistant referee, and generally the age of the teams. Let me make sure I'm not missing any.
There are a couple more questions in chat, Matt.
Yep.
A couple people asked about who's reporting scores. That is the responsibility of the referee. There may be times when we need to touch base with a coach or manager to verify a score, to get a score for a particular match, but we'll reach out when we need that. There was also a question about where do you find your Got Sport ID? That will be provided to you by your club administrator. Generally, it's the email address that they have affiliated with you.
Very good. Stephanie asked a good question. Does every club have a referee point person? New this year, our club has a referee point person per team, and they go meet with the ref, be a resource during the game, and handle parent issues if needed. Whether every club has that, I couldn't speak to. It is becoming something that is becoming more common. As we've met with our clubs over the winter about this very issue, we did propose and suggest that be a part of what they do. So we're glad to see that in play for sure. At this level, it's just a main referee, not sideline referees. Correct? That is correct. U9 and U10 games have one referee in the middle. So real quick on game day, what you need to be prepared for. There's two things that ultimately must be brought to the game. I showed a screenshot prior. One is a photo roster, also known as a game card, that'll be printed from GotSport. And then secondly, all adults must have a printed U.S. Club Soccer card and be on the photo roster as well. Okay. By having that card, it means that the adult has completed a fairly rigorous process as authorized by our governing body, U.S. Club Soccer, with regards to safe sport, with regards to a background screening, with regards to going through a disqualification review to make sure they're not on any suspension lists. Player health and safety is absolutely a priority of our league. And by having that card, that ultimately tells the world that they've gone through the rigorous steps that they need to, and that they're in essence approved. Okay. And then lastly, while we don't report scores publicly, we do like to collect them because it helps us work with our clubs in between seasons to ensure that the teams that the clubs place into the league, to make sure that they're at the right level of play. And so we ask that the referees report scores. That happens within 24 hours. And if it's not done, there is an option for the coach or the manager to report the scores. And that happens in Godsport. So this just shows what this card looks like. On the left-hand side, this is an adult coach's pass. And then on the right side is an example of that photo roster that's printed from Godsport. So these are the items that ultimately should be provided for every match. Also, we publish on our website kit colors, I should say, that our member clubs wear for their home matches. Okay. The idea being that if I am Lakeville and I'm traveling to a match at Edina, I know that Edina is going to show up in a black kit. Okay, so obviously it would be prudent to not wear black at that match. In general, you'll notice that the home kits are dark in nature. So you should plan to wear a light color generally on the road. But this diagram and this graphic provides you information about what kit you should ultimately show up in. However, we also suggest that you always have, or the players always have, 2 kits with them. A couple of good questions in chat. So do managers need the card or just coaches that are interacting with the players? We suggest that managers also have their card with them in the event of an issue or something that happens with the coach, or the coach is in traffic, or some other situation. The manager can be on the player sidelines and manage the game until the coach gets there. So we suggest that managers also have one of those cards. You will have to be registered. All managers need to be registered appropriately, but we also suggest that they carry the card with them as well. Question in the chat: are kits changed this year and the kit color on the diagram for our team is incorrect? How should we get that changed? We solicited, we sent an email to actually clubs today to let us know if that had changed. I anticipate some changes to this prior to to us kicking off. So nothing further needed now. We'll get updates from the clubs in due time. Okay. Who's responsible for the photo roster? Each team will bring a photo roster generated from Godsport to the match. Adult passes are also printed from Godsport. That's correct. And your club administrator would ultimately be the one that would help issue that. You do not have to have individual cards for the players for league games. The only thing you need for league games is the photo roster and the adult passes. Okay, I'm going to move on here. So really quick with regards to sideline behavior and management, and obviously ties into our referee conversation as well. You all as team leaders, either coaches or managers, we ultimately look to you to help us foster a culture of respect. To put it simply, we expect a lot out of our membership, and we don't tolerate disrespectful language, actions, any of that, any of our events. I don't think I need to say much more on that, but I will say that, we do pride ourselves on, investing in issues, collaborating with our clubs to curb behavior that we don't feel is appropriate. and hopefully you don't feel as appropriate as well. So we just ask that you all as team leaders take this seriously, communicate expectations appropriately, and ultimately help us foster a culture of respect. More information is coming on 3 separate initiatives, but related. Some of you might be familiar with the Soccer Parenting Association. We are going to be rolling out a course. It's 15 minutes long with regards to sideline behavior called the Sideline Project. It's going to be a contest between clubs, and we're really excited about this. It's going to happen in April. So we're hopeful that you'll push this to your parents on your team. And like I said, there'll be some gamification and contesting between clubs during that. We're also going to be publishing our own code of conduct that's enforceable and meaningful, so that we actually can hold ourselves to that standard once it's documented. And then lastly, we're going to have a match feedback form, so that if you're at a game and you see something really good happen, we want to know about it. If you see something that doesn't look so good, we want to know about that too. And we commit to prompt follow up with regards to the match environment. And like I mentioned before, at these younger ages, 9s and 10s, we can't say enough about how important it is to foster a really, really good environment at these matches. Cheryl, I'll get to your question in just a second because it's related to this. Events. So we're going to have our summer festival again. This has been a popular event for now many years. It's filled up every year. It's open to all U9 and U10 teams. It's a fun jamboree style festival. The boys are going to play June 25th. The girls are going to play June 26th. Play 3 matches. They're two halves, 20 minutes in length. We want to match up teams that you don't see in league. And we see that as being a tremendous value in this event. It'll be in Cottage Grove, and registration is open on the TCSO website. This event will fill. We have limited field space. So we suggest that if you are interested in registering for this event, that you register pretty soon, because it's filled up historically. Somebody asked in the chat about whether player cards are needed for TCSL events, such as this one, Summer Festival. No, they are not. In fact, at this event, a photo roster isn't even needed. You just show up and you play. Okay. Pause right there. Where will the feedback forms be accessed? They will be accessed from our website, and once it's live, we'll be sure to communicate to all coaches, managers, what have you, that it's live. If we need to bring over a player from another team, the same age or younger, how do we handle that on the photo roster? Good question. So that's what we refer to as a club pass player. So any player that's age eligible from within your club is eligible to play on your team. Okay. In general, we feel like it's a good idea to get your club involved, make sure the director of coaching is aware, and then you can add that club pass player to your roster through a process. All of that documentation is on our website and will also be a part of our follow-up from this meeting. But you, in essence, add that player to the photo roster. Okay. So just really quick, we felt like it would be important to indicate or illustrate who you should go to for what. No question, you're going to have questions, and that's okay. And you can reach out to us anytime. However, your club admin or DOC is likely going to be better equipped to handle some of your questions. For example, your club DOC, if you have a need to secure guest players, that's probably the person to go to. If you have questions about your team placement, generally, somebody to go to. Rescheduling and field needs, This can be either your DOC or your administrator, depending on your club. Every club is structured a little bit differently. But in general, your club administrator will be your go-to resource for anything related to Gotsport. Okay. Why isn't this player showing up on the roster? How do I get a coach's pass, et cetera? From our perspective, like I said, you're welcome to reach out to us whenever. However, your DOC or administrator will likely be better equipped to handle some questions. In the case of general questions about our events or registering for our events, feel free to come to us directly and we'll be able to help you pretty quick. We're always the director of coaching and club administrator go-to resource if they have questions. If coaches on the call have questions about upcoming coach education opportunities or questions about a course, certainly feel free to reach out to us at any time. And then sideline issues and more to follow on that in terms of what our follow-up will be when there are issues. Just check the Q&A here real quick. We are a U8 girls team. I think there's only one other U8 team that we can club pass from. Is that correct? That's a question for your club. Depends on the situation within your club. Good question. Do you know the cost of the TCSL tournament for U9 and U10? Yeah, it's $375 per team. Somebody asked how many players are on the field at this age. There are 7 on the field at U9 and U10. Okay. And that wraps up our presentation. Let me go through the chat here. I'm just scrolling here, Tom, to get to your question. Somebody asked a question about what if you show up for a game and you're a U9 or U10 team and it looks like it's a U11 or U12 field. We want to know about that so that we can follow up appropriately. There are standards in terms of field size and what have you. If you feel like you're in a situation where you're playing on the wrong size field, bring that to your club. He or she can bring it to us, and then we can go from there. So we don't want there to be wrong field sizes. I don't think that's widespread. In fact, I know it's not widespread, but if there's a situation where you feel like the field size is wrong, we want to know.
I have seen a couple questions about offsides come across, Matt.
Okay, very good. Offside is in effect at U9 and U10. Okay. There's likely going to be one referee, and the referee is going to do the best job he or she can do. But offside is in effect, and that was part of the U.S. soccer mandate as it related to these small-sided games. Any other questions with regards to anything we covered?
Looks like there are a bunch more questions about offside in the build out line.
But offside is only past the build out line. That is correct. So offside is only in effect. Offside is only in effect. Build out line and beyond. There is a shortage of referees. What can we do when the referee clearly is incompetent for both teams and kids are not having fun? I've been to a lot of soccer games. The kids will be fine. In general, it's normally the adults that have more of an issue than the kids. And again, I ask that everybody on the call, and then the message gets to all of your families, please be empathetic. The referees at this age are new, just like the players are. So the kids will have fun. I'm confident in that. When are you allowed to substitute? At this age, you can substitute on any dead ball situation. Okay. Either team's throw in, either team's corner kick after a goal, ball in or out of touch, really anytime at an injury.
Tabitha, I have seen your question about the roster issue. Your club administrator would be the person you go to about your team roster, 100%. And if they don't know the answer to the question, they should be contacting me.
What happens if you share a coach with another team and there's a conflict between teams and the coach can only show up at one team's game? Can we play without a coach? No, there has to be an adult on the sideline that's appropriately registered. That's why we provide the reschedule window so that coaches can ultimately look at their schedules, identify conflicts, reschedule matches if they have to, so that they ultimately get to a place where they're able to coach. But there has to be an adult on the sideline.
I have seen a couple of people asking about rules. The rules are available on the TCSL website under resources, and we will have that link in the follow-up information that you guys get sent from this meeting, so you'll have direct access to those.
Probably missed it, but has the location for the TCSL tournament been decided? It'll be in Cottage Grove.
Can the adult on the sideline be the manager? Yes, the adult on the sideline can be the manager as long as you have a valid card. Do assistant coaches need? Yes, assistant coaches also need to be registered with US Club Soccer and go through all of the eligibility requirements.
Can we get clarification on the build-out line? If the goalie puts the ball in play before the attackers get back to the build-out line, is it considered live and in play? Yes. So the goalkeeper in that case ultimately took a risk, but it's live upon doing that.
A couple of people have asked about soccer ball size, Matt.
Is it size 3 or size 4?
That's why I asked you.
Somebody on the call knows. It's a size 4. It's a size 4, right? Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I'm your go-to for God Sport and US Club Soccer.
Not ball. So, size 4 it is. Good question.
Thank you, everybody.
I want to answer. How long do the certifications last? I completed certification last year as a manager. Will I have to again this spring? The certification or registration for an adult in US Club Soccer is on a 2-year cycle. How long are the halves? They're 25 minutes in length. When is registration open for Summer Festival? It's actually open right now. And there's already, quite a few teams registered. Okay, with that, we're going to wrap. Time is it? 8:46. Good. So Don and I will work to compile information relative to the topics covered. You'll get links and how-tos and also this video. And then we look forward to releasing schedules on Friday and really excited about getting kicked off here in a few weeks. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great night.